intersection, just
Yep.
like we do have those some intersections that have the turn lanes, basically Martin Luther King and Reno. It's that same situation there where you've got a very long turn lane. That could be a potential solution.
So that's something that we need to ask ODOT. I mean, we're spitballing here. Yeah,
And I understand. I think that if that's going to be the solution or a potential solution, then we need to consider an extra turn lane there. So
ODOT is wanting to close off Vicky, and I can't see closing Vicky, making it a cul-de-sac, unless we are provided with another outlet there.
I mean,
And-
we've got
and
police and fire that use that. It would be
You're preaching to the choir
Yeah.
here. I agree,
Yeah.
but we have to come back with our plan of what we want, and that's why we're talking about it. So we're years down the road.
Whenever they get finished with the bridge, is there going to be a turn lane in the center? There's just 2 lanes on either
You're
side.
talking about,
Underneath,
I-40?
on 15th underneath the interstate. So there's just
so they've
4
already removed the turn lane.
I mean, did we really lose? Yeah, did we really lose
Yeah. I don't think they're planning on it because they don't want Vicky entering 15th Street at that point. It's, so, I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm explaining what ODOT is
Yeah.
presenting
Yeah,
to
no,
us.
I'm saying right
And
now.
what I'd like to say is, this is what the city council wants to do.
But I'm saying, so this is a different problem now.
Yep.
If now, not 7 years from now, if we have lost our turn lane off of 15th onto Vicky, and that is now an illegal left-hand turn from now until,
That's a problem.
that is a huge problem.
I agree. Do you know how much time ODOT spent contacting me and asking my opinion on that? You got it. You got it. So, we're just trying to correct best we can. And if we can all come together on a solution for this, then we go back to ODOT with our solution. And that's what this discussion is about. So right now, we've gleaned that we gotta have a left turn lane on 15th Street. We gotta have that entrance. Rather than shut it down, if they move it 400 feet, that's a better solution for us than just shutting it down.
I think we've just uncovered another problem, though.
The left turn lane.
And that's a problem for now, not for the future. That's something that that's going to be a huge issue if that doesn't open back up.
so?
People are getting tickets every day. They don't care. They're getting the ticket to make that left-hand turn.
I get it. That's not something, do you have a solution for that?
I'm not sure what the solution is now. I'd guess that would have been something that we should have addressed prior, but we're going to have to come up with something, because that is.
Did you see the plans on that intersection
Never
before?
saw the plans. Did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
That's my whole point.
Yeah, no, so,
That's my whole point. They
Yeah.
do what they want to do. Now, let's give them a united front. We got to fix it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so the intersection has worked for the last 80 years, 70 years.
With the left turn.
With left turns, with everything going on. So I think that's one thing to point out is that we know that the intersection is there. Nothing significant has changed with the new highway. So what the thought is we did get the governor's contact. Hopefully DOT will be able to work with us and we won't have to quite use that, but as it's possible to use our governor's contact that we have from the legislation luncheon, and then come up with, this is the problem. The problem is, and we need to, if you could record this for us, Melissa. The problem is that the school district has shut down the middle school that is on the north, that's on the north side of the highway. And I brought up 10 years ago that we needed to have this road put in whenever they did that. never thinking that this was going to be a problem with a no left turn. So everybody who lives in Ward 4 has almost no way to go to middle school.
We're trapped.
We're trapped. So that needs, that needs to be in our minutes, because that's a serious problem.
I agree.
As far as going back to 24th Street and trying to semi-reroute the traffic down 24th Street,
Just Cedar Road.
Ms. Finch brought up some problems a couple weeks ago to me. Did we ever ask? Have we talked with the actual school / have we talked with the residents on 24th Street between Vicky and Sooner? And with that thought, the thought was whenever I came up 10 years ago that we needed to have that part for the buses so that we could have the buses coming down from Sooner, and we could also have the buses coming down from I-240 that all have to go to Kerr or go to Del City Middle School. We needed that bridge. But up until this point, for the last 3 years, we've had the school in, and it doesn't seem to be necessarily a crisis to me. But the left turn lane is, and so I think that it would be helpful just to get some buy-in, or just to have an acknowledgement that there is a problem for the amount
Sure.
of buses going through these neighborhoods.
Yeah, the traffic in the neighborhood is horrendous.
Because I think we could get rid of a lot. We should be able to get rid of half the buses out of the neighborhood
By sending them
by
to
sending
Center
down
Road.
Sooner, down with a nice turnaround lane. So,
I don't
Okay.
think anybody's against it, but we got to start making noise about it.
right. We need to start making noise, and I like your part to, if we had to get rid of Vicky,
Move
and
it
put a
400
to
feet.
move it and add it back in.
Yep.
Okay, so getting to the bridge question. Is this somehow residential neighborhoods get their bridges put in? Whenever, people go and design a new residential neighborhood, they put the bridges in. I don't think that this bridge has to be, some unaffordable thing for the city to put, if we had to put in. Not that I'm advocating for it, that we have to pay for it, but I don't think that it should be in the $500,000 range. And so if it was that kind of cost, then I don't know how we put in all the rest of the bridges across Cretcho Creek back in the 60s and 70s.
Actually, and I know with inflation being what it is, it's not realistic to look at the bridge that was put in at the Sooner shops over there in between. You got any? And I realize it's probably going to be twice as much.
I don't even remember the cost on that.
I'm going to say like 400,000-ish in that ballpark.
No idea.
So it might be 800,000 for a steel bridge, and we're guessing. All right, so perhaps we need to start looking into that. Absolutely. What? Right. What if we were able to put barrels in there? Do we know what the flow that creek carries from time to time?
With the elevation change from the
One
east
side to the other?
To the west side is about 8 to 10 feet, would you say? Yeah. The manholes are about 4 foot out of the ground on the west side of the creek.
No. No. Yeah. Let. I, I'm just saying, we need to start making some noise, asking some questions, and putting an opinion out there that, hey, this is going on, we need to fix it. And that's what we're talking about tonight. We're not planning on voting on a bridge, we're not planning on allocating money, we just need to start making noise about it. If we don't start now, when do we start? And that's all I'm saying.
So why don't we make our motion known and do it correctly, that we want to have, that we would like to start looking into and authorize the city to proceed as directed to encourage, basically bargain with DOT that we'll do the cul-de-sac for
Open the
Vicky.
door for
We'll open the
negotiations.
400-foot, we get a new road to tie in on the other side of the old Mexican restaurant.
Yeah. Let's
And-
talk to the county, let's talk to ODOT, anybody that'll stand still and listen. We need to start working that.
But I think that if we had an actual vote or the motion for this, then we can be able to go and proceed with everybody to know that, yes, this is what the city wants, this is not what the mayor wants, this is not what, Mike wants, or
Yeah.
whichever one,
It's
this is
what-
this is the official part that we absolutely need Vicky. There's no question about it.
Let me ask the city attorney, suppose you could craft some sort of letter to whom it may concern, we could send to the county and to the ODOT, talking about our concerns about this, and
available for this meeting, and she was not, for the prior meeting that got canceled because of weather. But their response was that they had spoken with Brian Jasper, the superintendent, and he's not aware of an issue about the bridge. So they were wondering if they could provide any engineering plans for the project. It would be great. And then, as I said, well, no, this is still in its infant stage, and we're still looking at it. They're going to need to, number one, be aware of the problem, and then number two, to have somebody, maybe ODOT or others, to provide engineering plans and get it slated. But at this moment, it's pretty premature, and like you said, we're just discussing and speculating. So if you want input from the county, you're gonna need a little bit more concrete information to be able to bring that forward.
So I don't think that that's, before you spend money for plans or for putting too much part of this,
Yeah,
we got to get this thing, we need the county to hopefully buy into that this is a problem. And that's, luckily, our press is here, that, to go and let that there's no way for our kids and the parents and the buses to go from Ward 4 over to Dale City Middle School.
If there's no left-hand turn there, let's talk about how long that drive is to go from
Down to Sunny Lane.
Reno and Howard to get to that point. You can't, there is no way
your
to get
option
there.
is go to Sunny Lane.
Go to Sunny Lane and then, how far
And
down Sunny
then
Lane?
go through the school zone to go and
All the way
endanger
through
kids
the
there.
Dell City School Zone.
Yeah,
All the
You
way.
have just increased that drive and that commute by 2 miles minimum
yeah, through another school zone.
through through 2 school zones, because
Yeah.
you've also got the elementary.
So we need to draft some sort of motion. We're not going to do it tonight. This isn't going to happen tonight.
Why not?
No.
Because,
You're
the
gonna-
question,
I'm talking about the letter that
The
we're going to
letter.
send.
right.
That's going to take a minute to sit down and write out, and then we need to vote and approve it. So let's see if we can put something together for the next council meeting that we can vote on the next council. And I don't know if we can even make it by February 6th. It may be
Our-
February 20.
I think it would be February 20. Our deadline is 5 o'clock tomorrow for the 6th. And if Michael Dean wants to propose the letter, I'll be happy to try to look at it and tweak it if he needs it. But he's,
And I'd be happy to sit in and help compose it too, but not tonight. Okay. So how about we table this until February 20th, the second meeting in February. And we'll put it on the agenda to read and ratify the letter and vote to approve the letter that we're sending. That's going to be a request both to ODOT and the county.
The 20th is a holiday, I believe, so it would be the 21st.
Okay.
The only question, Mayor, is with the information that you have about the cul-de-sac and about DOT's thoughts, is that a reasonable amount of time, or should we try to get this going before then? So the question is should we try for the next council meeting, which is also,
I don't think
Delayed.
anything ODOT does moves faster than, let's be polite here, JD. We're trying to be polite here. I don't think we have anything between now and the 20th that's going to happen that's going to change anything. And that gives us time to compose it, run it past legal, and then put it on the agenda. We're already going to miss the February 6th. We're not going to make that, so let's go for the February 21st. That way we have enough time to get it on the agenda.
sounds good.
So I would entertain a motion to table this until February 21st meeting.
I'll make a motion, we table this discussion until the February 21st meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. This is now tabled until the February 21st meeting. Move on to item number 5, City Hall remodel. Consideration, possible action to approve or deny a discussion of the possible City Hall remodel plans, direct staff accordingly, if any action needs to be taken. There have been discussions and potential plans for a City Hall remodel. This will allow the council as a body to discuss and make revisions, suggestions to the plans, or accept as proposal. Do I hear a motion to open the discussion?
Make a motion, we open the discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The discussion is now open on the City Hall remodel. This plan to remodel the City Hall has been going on since I was sitting on councilman in Ward 4. The crux of the remodel is the bathrooms, the men's and women's bathrooms on ground floor level. If you guys haven't been in there, you need to go in there and check it out. We're not talking about building a great fancy marble place, just something clean, sanitary, that's properly ventilated. The ventilation is poor in those bathrooms, the drainage is poor. I'm understanding the pipes are, they're old cast iron and they're calciumed up or whatever. The drainage is horrible and it's an ongoing plumbing nightmare. So the heart of the remodel needs to be those bathrooms. Now, if it becomes a budgetary number that we're not able to accomplish on the other stuff, I would say the other stuff is that would be nice if we can do it. But I think the bathrooms, they're a disgrace right now, our bathrooms here at City Hall, and we need to fix them. Now, this project had been tabled. We were, at one time, we were talking about using funds from the sale of the building that the city owned at 15th and Sooner, where the chamber was housed. We sold that building, and we got the funds from that building, and now we need to see how far these funds will go. Can we get the bathrooms remodeled? Can we get, I would like to see an information kiosk. Can you show the, oh, it's right there, that little half moon, half circle thing? Thank you, Anna. That little point right there, has everybody seen these plans? That is like an information thing, and I'd like to hear a discussion. What do you think about that as an information counter, and have our receptionist, who recently retired, actually positioned there? She could hand out job application forms. She could hand out garage sale forms. She could tell people when they come in to pay their water bill or they're buying a permit, where to go, which place to visit. That's kind of what I'm thinking about it. Now, I am interested in hearing what you guys think about it. Let me backtrack for just 1 second. Let's backtrack. Does anybody want to discuss the bathrooms? Does anybody think that we don't need to remodel the bathrooms? Maybe we ought to get that out of the way first. What does anybody think about it?
We were trying to think of what to say about the desperation that we need this, and the official answer we came up with, we'll always think about you when we go to the bathroom. That's probably not the right way to say it. Because the staff is 110% behind it if you all are.
Remodeling the first floor bathrooms. Well, I'd be in. Does anybody have any objections to remodeling the first floor bathrooms, men's and women's? Color? Walk into the men's room, you'll change colors. Yeah.
The only thing that I have any concern with in that, and I just saw it just now, is the one stool in the men's restroom. I don't know, obviously, I just see that as a potential for a problem. Potential backup. That's the only thing, and I don't know if I understand we may not have room for it, but that's just top of mind.
Sure. Ideally, the backups that I've seen in there in my time spent at City Hall is for the urinal.
Yeah.
And I'm not set in stone on any of this stuff. My main point is we need to fix our bathrooms. Now, whether it has two, what do you call, water closets, that's what I was looking for, thank you. Whether it has 2 water closets and 1 urinal, or 2 urinals and 1 water closet, I can go either way on that. That's not.
Where the 3 urinals are located, they take up the same space that the water closet stall does. Very easily add one water closet stall where one of the urinals are.
So we could potentially
Oh, is there
still have a
3?
water closet.
The other water closet is ADA compliant.
You just have to have one of those, though.
Because currently there is just 1 urinal and 2 water closets. So I think adding a urinal and having 2 water closets, so 2 of each would probably be.
That's fine with me.
I think that would be a privacy issue. I think watching someone wash their hands as you're coming in the door would probably be. Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a problem with taking out that 3rd urinal and making 2 water closets and 2 urinals. I think that would be fine. We would be 1 urinal ahead of where we are right now. Right now, we have 1 urinal, 2 water closets.
And no ADA compliance either, do we?
Yeah, we have one.
One of them is
compliant.
ADA. Okay.
Yeah.
Partially, yeah. Not
Close.
up to, yeah. So,
All right.
yeah.
Is everybody okay with that change? Make 2 water closets?
Well, we have to remind, I think we should definitely have 2 toilets and 2 urinals.
I'm fine with that.
So, hey, JD, as you're pointing right to the right of the 6, the wall coming down right next to 106. Right there. If we took that wall out and did move the sinks over there, is the other wall bigger than that area? Or- Because, looking at it, from this distance, it does look like at least the same, if not bigger. And because going, it's not, it's slightly smaller. Because the only thought would be is to see whether or not we could change that over. And I wonder if we should make the first, with the door opening up there, maybe make the first urinal, the toilet, and then the other two,
Are you talking about, let me make sure I'm understanding. You're on 106, the men's room. There's 3 urinals there. And let's see, north would be on the left side of the page. Is that correct?
So my thought is, you know, make this one, the toilet that way, this door opens up easily. You know, come around this part, make it more private from here. Yeah, so we want to make this one called the urinal. That, yes. Sorry about that. What is the square that's right in front of the, yeah.
we deserve them too.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So can we say that we're in agreement with 2 urinals and 2 water closets?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, we're doubling the urinals. And by the way, we want the urinals to drain, unlike the one that's in there now. Okay. Let's switch over to room 105, which is the ladies' room. What do you guys think about that design there? That's, what is it, 3 water closets?
Does that have 2
And
baby
a sink.
changing tables? What's the one behind the door of the ADA?
I think they look fabulous.
Kyle, or JD, can you show the 2 rectangles? There's a rectangle there. Do we have a second,
Which one? What are you talking about?
there's two baby changes, yeah. That one's not supposed to be there.
Oh, you're talking about that changing table that's
Yep.
in the way of that door? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they just need
Now, of
one
course, that
changing
might be the
table.
better place for it, you know, they have a sink and this, and
Yeah, inside the ADA stall.
And
That
then
happens.
just to the, just
Huh?
up,
Can't do that? Okay.
so to
I'm-
the east
I'm
of that
fine
baby
with-
changing table, is that a janitor's closet? Is that
That's
hot
the hot water
tank?
tank.
Okay.
And perhaps a mop closet, you could have mops or something in there? Okay,
And what are we doing for ventilation, or what's the plans for the,
the exhaust fans are all going to exhaust into JD's office.
and so what's, so for the exhaust fans, I would assume that we have similar problems upstairs. So,
We haven't looked at the upstairs bathrooms, and actually, that's a whole different scenario. It's 2 single bathrooms.
okay,
It's not the same problem that we have down here.
thanks.
There still is a ventilation problem upstairs. For the record,
Yeah.
could we have, Terry Parker, do you want to announce your name and your position? Because I know that the record is getting your comments. Could you please announce that?
Yeah, would you go to the podium, please?
I'm Terry Parker. I'm an architect with Architecture Incorporated, be the architect for this project, so.
Thank you, Terry. Thanks for coming out tonight. So, the layout for the ladies' room is perfectly fine with me. Does anybody have any objections to the layout as it is on the plans at this moment? Going once. Okay, can I assume now that we all agree that the drawing as it is will work for the ladies' room? Okay, we've got the bathrooms behind us. Now let's move to this round half circle. Slide JD slide, oh, there it is. Yeah, expand the reception area for us, will you please? What we're talking about doing is right outside this room, there's a set of wooden doors with glass in them that nobody's ever closed. I've never seen them closed. And we're talking about taking those doors out and putting a half-round reception area there. And previously, was JJ our receptionist? Was that her job title? Previously, our receptionist sat behind a locked door, behind a glass cage, back in the back corner, which you have to go find the receptionist to be received. And I think we should move our receptionist out front and center. The first person you see when you come in, someone would greet you. If you're there for a garage sale, you give you the garage sale form. If you're there for pay a bill, you can be directed to the bill. If you're applying for a job, give you a job employment. Move our receptionist out front and center. That's what we're talking about here. And a half-circle desk is the way that we're thinking at this time. What do you guys think? We can do that.
The duties that JJ had, some of that involved taking cash, so she couldn't do that part at the front.
There, yeah. They would have to go, she would have to direct them to either, one of the code windows or, what would you take cash for, a garage sale?
No, she was taking payments for insurance.
For insurance? I didn't realize we ran insurance schemes.
No, for the retirees,
Okay,
yes.
so if someone is not paying electronically, if not paying with a credit card, then perhaps they would have to go to the code window to make a cash payment. I mean, that would be one way around it. We could have a drop box for cash that drops into JD's office.
I think the problem with the position is it has been in the past, the receptionist, whoever answers the phone, and then they had the other duties of taking care of the retirees as they come in and pay. So then the question is who gets to take over the retiree payments? Do we end up having to get another employee, or does?
How many times does she take payments in a month? Weekly?
Yeah.
So are there 10 a week? Are there 100 a week?
Yeah, she takes hotel motel payment and
So how the hotel motel tax works is, the way that the state law reads it, they actually bring it, when they say they bring a tax of $10,000 state number, they physically bring it to us for us to document that it does not go through the tax.
In cash?
Yes, well, potentially in cash, and check form, and anything, depending on what they have. Airbnbs often do things with cash, and they have to bring it to us now as part of the state law.
Wow.
They bring it randomly $22.16 that we have to make documentation for. So that's just one of her things. In addition, she also takes lease payments for some of the properties we currently have leased. Some people bring in checks, some people bring in cash, depending on.
I see. And your concern is having cash at the front door. Could we solve that with some sort of drop box built into the wall that she would not be able to access?
no, they'll have to get a receipt.
No, I mean, the receptionist could write the receipt, take the payment, put it in an envelope and drop it in like a mailbox slot or something. That's not
Possible.
not accessible from the front. We're just spitballing here.
So to go on a tangent, is the reason why we came up with the reception / customer service is because we had such problems, 3 years ago or so, and we've made fixes. We've fixed a lot of the problems. Lots of people that I talk to things of course have dramatically improved. In fact, they have a very good part. As far as seeing the different places where to go, is most of the signs are pretty identifiable. And so the question would be, is this would have been the solution for our problem 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay, this was actually drawn up 3 or 4 years ago.
And, right, and that's why we, it's great that we're reviewing this, because things have changed. And
So-
I think that, having 2 toilets is a great idea for now. It's,
So are you
but
saying
the
we
question is,
don't need the reception at all?
do we need the reception? And so that's one thing that we should really think about, because, we can still, if we really needed to, is it's down there, do we have the word reception, receptionist or on the, it is on the,
Usually they're out front.
Who is currently, when someone calls, I'm assuming that a lot of JJ's duties were to answer the phone. So who is currently doing that? And is that a position that, and this is just, is that a position that that is necessary?
Right now, all the calls are being taken by utilities.
Okay.
We do have plans to make that automated in the future. So it'll direct the
The
call
calls,
directly
right?
to that
Not
department.
utilities, the calls.
Right.
So the potential for the position is even in question, potentially. So,
So who takes the money
Except-
deposits now?
Right now, utilities is taking the payments. But they can get pretty busy at times.
so that's what I was saying, you're talking about the receptionist answering the phones, but there's that other duty there of the
yeah, the
retirees. And
yeah, taking the money. And if that is a duty, that seems like a duty that someone other than a receptionist could handle, if that becomes basically not the only duty. I'm not trying to demean anyone that may take that position, but that being only, basically half of what they're doing, that could go to someone else potentially. You made mention of maybe going into code. Everyone's going to have their busy times, so perhaps it could be that multiple people could have the ability to take that payment potentially. I don't know what the solution is,
Yeah.
but
Right now, our utility billing supervisor's taking those payments, and she's doing a pretty good job at it,
so it may just be that we don't need the reception desk or the receptionist in the very near future. And I will say, often when I come here, this desk that is out here, people tend to congregate there, and they use it to ride on. Yeah, it's a very usable space. So
why do you want to get rid of the doors?
Brittany is watching me on the camera, so I don't say anything, but somewhere I have to clean them, we're done this great, and that's all.
Yes, ma'am?
And forgive me, maybe this isn't part of it, but before we get too far off the bathrooms, do we have a projected budget or a projected estimate rather of how much it would be to do the bathrooms and in today's dollars and kind of what's our budget?
First, we're trying to nail down what we want in the bathrooms. And then when we give him, look, this is how we want it, then he can project the spending from there. If he doesn't know what we want, it's hard to figure.
Already had it from what we've already seen because we're keeping it pretty much the same.
Any estimates that are over 90 days old are completely out the window. So I bought a $3,000 glass door this week that used to cost $1,500. Was when? 2019 was the last estimate. That's 4 years ago. I don't think we're going to hold you to those estimates. So the purpose tonight is basically to review the plans and see if we can all come together on the plans. From that point, we have to get estimates, and then we'll see if we can spend the money.
So
We're just getting the want list down.
So, we've got lots of different areas and we've got lots of different things. So what if we break this up into, because I don't know that we're going to figure out if we need a reception desk tonight, because we don't know the time frame for when we may automate phone calls or what the solution for taking those payments is. So what if tonight, I understand that we want to get through all of this, but what if tonight we concentrate on, say, the bathrooms? That is obviously the
think
number
we-
one priority.
I think we've actually settled on the bathrooms.
Yeah.
We're getting 2 water closets, 2 urinals in the bins.
Yeah.
The ladies is going as planned.
Okay.
So we've already moved beyond the bathrooms.
So, okay.
And I think that.
There's
the
one
que- the
other-
que- It just gets down to this, is that we do need somebody to end up being the receptionist, even if with an automated one, that you finally press 0, or whichever code that we're going to make it difficult to do. You're going to end up having somebody taking those calls. And somebody's going to have, somebody needs to be doing the retiree payments. Now, whether or not utilities can do it. One of my quick thoughts is could, as you drive through the outside park, could they do those payments there through the drive-through?
Do they do payments in the drive-through?
They do utility payments, yes.
Can they do?
They do.
Can they do retirement?
The
payments?
hotel motel tax, or do they have to come inside for that?
They usually come inside for that.
But I mean, the question,
We've never tried it. We could always try it. I mean,
because if we ended up doing the looking at trying to make the drive-through, a little bit more, different items that you can do, then that position actually goes away. And we might not have to fill that one. And then that's a savings of, 30 to 50,000 or whatever number, a year that we could look at. Plus whatever this was gonna cost to change it, which is probably not that much.
I think rather than getting deep in the weeds on receptionists, no receptionists, all that, do we want the receptionist counter, I think is, do we want this half circle here? Or is that something that we just want to strike
I'm
and
gonna
let it
say,
go?
For, for me, I'm going to say no.
You're not interested in the
don't-
receptionist?
I don't think so.
All right,
Okay, so I'm going to speak up. So I kind of like the idea for the fact that every time I walk into the building, there's no one out there. If I'm a new person coming in, I don't know where the utility department is, where code enforcement is, where JD's office is. It makes it nice to have someone there to direct traffic. That's the,
smiling face.
I think we need to put on a better front and having someone there to address people when they walk in and they're not wandering around the halls looking for a place to go. It just puts us in a better light.
I think I like being greeted when you come in the door by somebody that knows which door you need to go to and what you can do. I like the idea that she can pass out employment forms and she can pass out garage sale forms and do things like that are, people walk in not knowing where to go, but just the fact that she's a greeter. Now, if you want to say, can we afford to have a greeter? That's a valid point. Can we afford to have that person? It's not going to be a real high-paying job, and that person could also be tasked to do other things when it's not a peak traffic time.
And I think if you remove the receptionist position, then obviously it could just travel over to, when I say receptionist, the current, as it's iterated now, you change that to another person, a greeter position, then I think that is feasible.
I would be concerned about the fact that you were talking about maybe having them go through the drive-through to pay that stuff. If I was somebody coming in with a handful of cash, I would not be doing it in the drive-through. I'd be handing it to somebody and getting a receipt. So I don't think that would be a good idea.
The person receiving, if we have a person stationed, and we don't have to call her a receptionist, call her whatever you want to, greeter, that makes no difference. The person, if they had to take money and write a receipt, they could turn around and walk over to code enforcement and hand that money off. They don't have to leave it out front. I mean, we're not talking 20 steps to hand that off. So we're not talking about keeping a cash register out there.
And I could find someone else besides the receptionist to take the payments. That's not an issue.
So take that
My-
off the table then. Let's talk about someone that would stand at that half circle, hand out employee applications, hand out garage sale signs, whatever, greeter.
Yeah, our applications are all done online.
I think the garage permits are probably done online.
You remember the Max Headroom commercials? Can we get, never mind. JD's lost.
So, so, so in the end, is I would imagine we're looking somewhere around $20,000 is this question. Do we want to spend, and that's going to, hopefully that would be enough. We're end up with a table, or we're going to end up with a receptionist. So maybe we just put it in and let it run. I mean, but again, I think that in the end, I don't think it's going to be used. I think that's probably doesn't end up being necessary.
We can leave the table that's out there right now at zero cost. Do we want to even get a bid on what it would cost to put that in there? Is anybody interested in?
Because some of the things we're going to have to do is run new phone lines, computer lines. That's some of those things for that number I gave you to go and put it out.
Getting a bid on the reception desk doesn't tie us down to having to have the reception desk, so perhaps maybe just seeing if it's $5,000 to build the reception desk.
The purpose of tonight is to see if we're interested in it. So are we interested in a reception desk or not? That's the question.
I don't know how we do this, but I would just go with not.
Okay. All right.
And I would go with yes.
You what? Okay. Jackie, a reception desk, yes or no?
Yes,
Kyle?
I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with no.
You guys have,
But a strong no.
I'm going to,
you guys have done it to me again, you know.
I'm sorry. I know you love that position.
Leave the reception desk intact with as an option, and if the price comes back reasonable, we will vote on it with the price point in mind. Right now, we're kind of shooting in the dark, so let's proceed with it until we see the cost, and at that time, we'll have the option to kill it if the cost is too great. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody good with that? Okay. Let's move on. I've already been told with great disdain that the bathroom off of the mayor's office is a big no. I'd like to get a price on it.
I think one of my concerns is that it's a alternate egress route from here, and so that's one of my concerns.
Let's move on. We're not going to waste any time on the mayor. It's an option, and if the price comes back right, once we have the dollars and cents in front of us, we can say yes or no. Right now, that's not a hard thing that we need to decide. Okay? Make sense? I'm going to vote yes on it, you guys. Sorry. I don't like changing clothes in that dirty little, well, never mind. Let's go ahead and we're still on the Dale City Hall plan, and we're looking at the old reception office. Part of this is demolition of the area that JJ used to sit in and refurbish it as 2 offices. This is all demolition on this page. I got to go to another page. Let's get in here. I'm on sheet 2A2. Is that where you're at? Is that 2A2? It's down the bottom right-hand corner. The bottom right-hand corner. Go up a little more. There it is. 2A. Is that 2A2? Okay, I'm just making sure we're on the same page. Good. Thank you, JD. You're on the right page. Let's look. Yeah, we're looking at enlarged floor plan, Area B, alternate 1. And what we're looking at is, let me get oriented here. Terry, help us out. That's on the left, but the floor plan on the right is what I'm trying to. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I just now saw the corridor. I was looking, you have all the backstage area back there drawn in, and that's what was throwing me. I was looking at it at the wrong angle. Okay, on the left-hand side of that drawing, there's a door that opens out and it says corridor right above it. That is the existing door to the corridor going into JJ's office. The new plan calls for demolition of that glassed-in area and creating 2 offices in place of it. And then there's also a small waiting area right there, right where there's a box that says 110. You see that 110 box? Right above that is a waiting area. That's the waiting area. Now point the office to the right of the waiting area. That office to the right of the waiting area. Yeah, that right there. That's an office. What do we need that office for? What's the function of that office? That's my question. Do we have a function for it?
So Melissa, this is where JJ sat. So I think that this is the most important of things to ask Melissa what she wants, because this is her offices. But currently, we're looking at taking your existing place and making it much smaller to where people, one of the busiest spots of the city hall right now, and make it smaller. And then I just don't think that you want to make it small.
Let's look at the perspective that this was drawn in. This was drawn up 3-4 years ago. We're talking 3-4 years ago is when this was put into place, and there seemed to be an office crunch. There was a shortage of offices. Maybe that's not the case now. It is not the case. So maybe we don't even need to do anything with this. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what everybody thinks?
Yeah, why don't we just hold off a year and see what potentially we may need that for in the future, and just leave it as is for now and empty?
Is this an alternate one? It's actually an alternate, isn't it? So when he comes back with estimates, he'll give us an estimate for this, but it looks like we're probably not going to be interested in doing alternate 1.
So currently, Office 111 said was the receptionist. It's the receptionist and taking retirees' money and possibly hotel money. And then you have no, because that's on 111. Now the other side, right, that we're now going to put a wall in, that is currently what the utility billing. And that's where I'm just saying is you need a lot of room in there, and now we're going to make over, close to half the room one person's office, which could
This is an alternate.
Yeah, right.
So this won't be in the main bid. This will be like a menu item that you can pick and choose down the road. And it looks to me like we're not interested in it. If we have no need for it, do we have a need for those 2 offices?
I think anything we
Again,
can
this
get
was-
rid of is going to make our bidding easier. The more stuff
Yeah.
that you have is,
Can you delete alternate 1? I just deleted it on my page. Let's move right along. The final thing for City Hall. I've got this carefully organized down here. Now we're looking at alternate 2. We're on page 2A3. Is that where you're at? Oh. Is that part of an alternate, or is that part of the main bid? We're talking about, now I'm going from memory, so forgive me if I if I'm misspoken. We're talking about closing in this area up here, and that was that a wood? It's metal. You're not looking over the. Okay. Terry, I'm sorry, would you stand up to the microphone? There are people at home that can't hear.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Yeah,
That's a metal baffle system.
we're talking about a metal louver system
Okay,
that you can't see through, but it would be 6 feet tall, sitting on top of the existing wood wall, the full length of the corridor.
The whole corridor.
So where you're on the second floor looking over this area and the area just adjacent to us to the west here, you don't see all the
Tops,
tops, the junk
the
above.
back side of the lights.
Yes. You still see the wood ceiling above, so you see the good part, but not so
Hide
much
the
of the
ugly
bad
part.
Right.
Okay.
And it would help with noise as well, yes. It's
So when
primarily
people
visual,
walk
though.
out in the hallway talking, that would help the acoustics in here?
Yes.
Okay.
So it,
6 feet, are you talking 6 feet above these lights that are in here, or 6
6
feet?
feet above the wooden beam right there.
Wouldn't be,
It would be 6 feet above, so that's gonna be up where the rail is in
be
the
about
second.
halfway to the other wood beam. That's about 12 feet, 10 or 12 feet.
Yeah.
So it'd be about half of that.
And it would go from the corridor all
It
the
would
way
go
over.
from the corner, front corner up there by the entry, all the way to the back end, to the brick wall.
With it being metal, isn't that gonna make it a little bit noisier as opposed to like wood
No,
that would
'cause
absorb it?
It's a baffle system,
Oh, okay. But it's made of metal?
yes.
Think of it as a diffuser panel.
I think in my mind, we don't have many, we only have employees on the second floor typically, right? Do we have?
We have meetings on
We
the second floor from time
occasionally.
to time.
So, you know, from a aesthetics standpoint, I would be less inclined to be for that if it would help with sound specifically in here, because it does become difficult to hear at times. I would be more inclined to say certainly, but if it's really just for aesthetics, that seems somewhat frivolous, I guess.
Architecturally, I think that the lines of this building are beautiful, and we get compliments on it all the time. I just want to make sure that we don't mess up with the look and the feel of City Hall.
and my concern is if you go and put that louver system in, is the heating and ventilation in here is, I don't see any vents on this whole side. And you'd be, you know, so, yeah, it's great. So. It's a louver system, it's 85% hollow. Mm-hmm.
No.
Just imagine it's blinds,
I don't.
like wood blinds turned on their side, and you've got far more air than you have material there, so.
I don't personally see any, I sort of like looking down and seeing all the, of course, I'm an engineer, so maybe I like to see all the infrastructure that's in it, but I don't see anything that's obnoxious that you don't want to see from up there.
Hasn't there been times whenever there's been a lot of citizens in here and they have stood up on the second balcony?
I don't think we actually allow the public in that area. That has a locked door.
The only time I remember when there was a lot of people here was when they were trying to put that pre-release center on the corner of Sooner and Reno. And we were sitting out, this before I was involved, we were sitting out in chairs in the hallway. Other than employees, I don't think anybody was upstairs looking down. But that's
Yeah.
the biggest crowd I know of.
I remember that night. Okay. So, quick poll. What are we thinking here? About 4 years ago, and now we're reviewing it. So
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna pass on, I'm gonna say no for that.
skip it.
Yeah.
Jackie?
I just wish there was some way we could stop the noise from coming over, whether it's a glass ceiling inside the lobby there or something, but I like the aesthetics of what we have now. I'd have to see a visual of what's possible before I could really vote.
Pam?
I'm saying no.
I like being able to look up there and see everything. I think it gets back to aesthetics, so I'd be a no.
Terry, it appears to me that the council is not interested in the 6-foot louvers. strike that, please. All right? You want to talk about the basement, JD? This is your department.
So this is by all means an alternate. It is not a requirement. It is just something that I had spitballed to the city manager and then to the mayor some time ago of trying to put together. For those of you that have been to our basement, we have planning and zoning files. I believe the appropriate term is out the wazoo. And we're trying to get those things under control, which is why I brought things to your attention to delete some older files, and we're going to be getting some things taken care of there. But for the actual city planner's office, as you know, my office handles mostly development and the city planner handles things here. We have no place in which for the city planner to spread out large plans, documents, things of that nature for us to truly look over things. The fire marshal has been nice enough to let us utilize his office from time to time. Sometimes we spread out here, conference rooms, etc. So an idea that we had was to take the old storage room, and this is the area down here, storage room 120, used to be our tornado shelter, as it were, for lack of a better term. But the area down in the basement of potentially taking a planning and zoning section. We have a very large map machine in the basement that we would love to start utilizing. Previous administration paid a large amount of money for that. We would love to see it up and running. We can print maps ourselves. The large RICO board, similar to the one you see here, we have larger ones sitting in, offices that we would love to have down there so we could use them the way we're doing this here. And so by potentially putting the area down here, planning and zoning would come into this section. We would add a space here to have a private office for the city planner, but then having a large meeting area here that would have different planning and zoning documents, board of adjustment, planning commission, things of that nature, all available and accessible instead of having to continue to go up and down, left and right, things of that nature. Not a requirement, it is an alternate as it states on here. If we're interested, we are trying to utilize the basement space. When I first got here a year and a half ago, the basement is an untapped resource. There are lots of space, it's a lot of benefit. And for me, who likes things in the 60-degree range, there's a private thermostat downstairs. So I have requested, and the city manager has often told me he would send me to the basement, so we'll see if we can turn that into a particularly good office space for people to utilize.
We're basically just talking about building one wall and putting a doorway in it.
A glass door, yes, sir. That way it's still visible. With it being in the basement, there's still visibility.
Is that fairly it in a nutshell? And that's an alternate. That's alternate 2. I think we should just move ahead with that. That's not going to be a big item, and it will make the space much more usable.
That still allows for that large area where I've had a couple of large meetings. That still,
That's not what we're talking about.
that is not, that's the other area, right? Oh, yes, we're talking about the stairway. Sorry, yep, no,
The area over here, this is down into
that's right,
so
yep.
coming down the hallway, we have that section.
The only thing about this is just a simple wall. I believe we could do that in-house possibly with our building maintenance team, which could potentially save more money.
With it being the one wall.
It's an alternate. Let's bid it as an alternate, and we can pick and choose when we see the price. Is that all right with everybody? That concludes City Hall. Now let's get to the fun stuff. Let's go to the community center page, and it's 1A1, sheet number 1A1.
Need a motion,
Get us,
Mayor?
it's the, oh, no, I'm sorry, you're right, it is. I would hear a motion to close the City Hall remodel.
Make a motion, we close the city hall discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The discussion is now closed on the City Hall remodel. We will move on to item number 6, renovation of the old library located at the community center. Consideration, possible action to approve or deny a discussion for the possible renovation plans, direct staff accordingly, if any action needs to be taken. There have been discussions and potential plans for the old library renovation. This will allow the council as a body to discuss and make revision suggestions to the plans or accept as proposed. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we open the community center discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The discussion portion is now open. Did we get to, JD, have you got 1A1 up? Is that what?
Just to show you, this is what it looks like right now in its bare state, just so that you can see what we have, and then we move into the bigger stuff. And of course, I'll expand as you all want, because it's awful hard to see in its current state.
Let's do like we did with City Hall. Let's look at the bathrooms first. Existing, there you go. He just wants to see what the bathrooms look like now. The kitchen area is actually just a room with cabinets and a sink. Tiny little bathrooms. I understand there's a sewer line problem at the community center, is that correct?
With with additional bathrooms, it would probably be best. That entire building is ran off a 4-inch sewer line.
How far to the main?
It's all the way to the end, across the street from the end of the fire station, backing up to Wood Edge.
Wow.
Yeah. I would
That's a
say
run-through
probably
concrete.
6-inch minimum. I don't, Terry, you'd have a better answer on that.
So we need to include a 6-inch line that it is included. Okay, very good. All right, let's start at the bathrooms. And we already know that we're gonna have to increase the capacity of the lines. The design, the main idea between the design of the bathrooms here is to not have doors that people in walkers and wheelchairs would have to open and close. It's to make it very compliant with people that have mobility problems. And that's why the enlargement, and that's why it's designed as it is. Can you kind of point out the men's side of that for us?
So just so you see, we're coming here, this is the entrance to the community center when you first walk in. If you're going to this side, you're heading to our main area, and this will be walking into the library, the doors enter here. And as you head up, you've got the men's room here on the left, the ladies' room on the right. So right now, we're looking at the men's room, which is this section here.
Would you enlarge that, please? Now, I'm looking, is that the same plan? Let me see here. That's got 2 water closets and 1 urinal. Is that what we're looking at there?
Yes, sir, and then 2 sinks down here.
And then 2 sinks. Again, it looks to me like we're short on the urinal.
So, here's the family bathroom on the right. It's further down over here.
Is the wall, that, you know, basically, I imagine you tried to put, right on a brick that, sorry, did you try to put in urinals? No, that's the required number of fixtures, and you're supposed to have more water closets than urinals if it's not numbered. Right. And that's. So again, can you put in another urinal?
Are,
Not really, because I'm at the north end of the building, and the south end is driven by the entrance into the space. At the bottom, it looks like that wall.
there's a janitor's closet there that is actually between the bathroom and the main entry.
Is that 302, 302A?
Yeah, 302 is a janitor's closet. Could we relocate that janitor's closet to another position and make the bathroom slightly larger, enough to accommodate 2 urinals and 2 water closets? Is that possible?
That's possible.
We're breaking all the ground there and putting in new plumbing anyway, so we're not restricted to existing plumbing. It's all gonna be new anyway. So perhaps we should move the janitor's closet and make the bathroom slightly larger. And that would give us an extra urinal there, because that just seems like that would be slightly small. if we're gonna have a coffee bar, we're probably gonna need more urinals.
How about the quick thought of swapping the bathrooms? So how many toilets are in the female side?
3.
Same thing, it's required by the number of people. 3 fixtures per sex is what's required,
3 fixtures per what?
per sex.
Per sex.
So,
3 men and 3 women.
so if we moved the janitor's closet and took that wall out further, we could, you could have,
Could also add one.
yeah, another for the ladies' room.
So my thought is if we move over, if we swap the men's and women's, then we can leave the janitor's closet there, and then we just move the wall out for the men's side to give us the extra room. I would like to give you guys a couch. The couches in the lavatories are really nice. Did you ever get to see in the generals ones? Yeah. But I don't think that the room allows. But anyway, the thought is right now, if you move it back down to where you can see janitor's closet. Okay, so you have that room that's there. On the other side, there's nothing. So we can bring that wall easily down, keep janitors where it's at, and give the men's room a little longer spot.
Perhaps if we took the janitor's closet out, that's really not a big deal. And kick that wall out so we can have the extra urinal there and an extra water closet in the ladies' room. Put the janitor's closet on the back side of the family toilet. And then you've already got the hot water heater back there. Just make a space there for the janitor's closet. Then both bathrooms get more room.
All along, my idea was to make that a big old bathroom. So I'm right on board with that idea. Yeah.
Okay. Terry, is that a major change to move that? It is?
Yes, it is, but that's okay.
I think at this,
Into extra fees, so.
I would move the janitor's closet around behind the family bathroom, kick that wall out, and put an extra urinal and an extra water closet, and the ladies will definitely thank you. Okay. Is everything else on the bathroom, we're good on everything else on the bathrooms, right? Because we can move to the next area.
I have a question.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
want to talk about the family bathroom also.
The family bathroom, we're going to keep that, I think. Well, mainly because if this is used as a senior center in any way, that there are lots of people that have to help their spouse in the bathrooms, and it sure makes it a lot easier.
We have to keep it.
It's required by code. If you have more than 5 fixtures total in the facility, you have to have a family restroom.
So that's not even a question. It's going to stay. All right. Let's move right along. Let's go to the catering room, the 313 room. That's basically
So it has
food.
sorry, Mayor. We have a washer dryer there.
We do.
Is there a reason why we? Is there a reason why we need a washer dryer?
A washer and dryer. I don't really have.
Maybe to wash linens. I don't know. I know the city does own some linens that we use for some of the tables in the community center, so it would be an asset.
There you go.
And they could potentially be in the janitor's closet as well if they needed to be a stackable washer and dryer. Could be potential. Just
Okay. Let's get over to room 313. That's the food prep area. We had talked about putting a cook stove in there, but the fire department has poo-pooed that idea. So I think we can scratch that out, the cook stove portion.
And they poo-pooed that for why?
Do what?
Why did they do that?
Because we have to sprinkle the area and possibly the whole building if we have cook stoves in there, and it's not worth the cost. I was told that most people cook their food at home or at a remote location. They bring it to the event, and then they use crock pots or a warmer just a warmer oven, a microwave.
Just make sure there's lots of plug-ins.
And that's the goal, is to make this a catering style kitchen.
That's fine, and that's fine. That way we don't have to invest in sprinkler system.
And do we,
Is everybody good with what we've got? There's an island in the middle for food prep. The sinks are existing on the, it would be the west wall. The north wall shows 2 large refrigerators, and we would purchase the refrigerators. Is that correct, Terry? Yes. So you're just providing outlets, and what about an ice maker? Is there a water line for an ice maker? Is that something that? I think that would be nice. There is an ice maker in the other end of the community center. So let's consider a water line and a receptacle to power an ice maker in the refrigeration area.
Now, when I came in to look at this, I thought that it was like 2 separate kind of kitchens. One was more of a catering kitchen, and then the other kind. But if you combined it all together into one room, I can't see very well this far. Is it
Yeah,
all
it's,
one room now?
313, can you expand that a little, JD? The touch.
so how about the sink? If the sink is existing?
There
what-
is an existing sink, it's on the west wall.
Right, so can we get a nice sink, basically replace the sink?
More like a galley sink, a
Yes,
very
yeah,
large
you know,
galley sink.
yes, I mean, again, you're needing places to prep, do this, and whenever you're cleaning
Are you
up.
talking about just one big sink instead of a 2-compartment sink? Is that what you're talking about, or?
I just would like,
a larger-
if we're doing this, it's time to replace the sink. I mean, there's no reason to have a
Maybe-
1970 or 60,
Something large, deep, stainless steel.
yes, yes.
Maybe two,
Okay.
A restaurant style sink.
maybe
yeah.
2 sinks would be good too, because when people bring all their stuff, they'll need to wash up stuff, and you get, 4 or 5 people around 2 sinks rather than 2 people.
So when you're doing sinks, Mr. Parker, is this one up here designed for as a hand sink versus this one for the dishes?
It's just another prep sink,
Okay,
like a standard 2-compartment kitchen sink.
okay. Do we require, I believe a hand sink is required if you're prepping food. At least in the event center industry, it's required to have a separate hand sink, so it could hurt you to designate one of these or stick one where it's hand wash only, no dishes, no.
Set one in the corner.
Yeah.
Set a hand wash sink in the corner, please.
Okay, so we are adding a sink to the room?
2 food prep sinks and 1 hand wash sink.
Right, but that one, is that sink, is the sink that's written there, is that the existing one?
Yes.
Okay,
This one's existing over here.
okay, that's new,
This one will be new.
okay. So we'd end up with 3 sinks. So we really don't need a hand washing sink. We can say the existing sink, which hopefully would be a remodel.
Well, the small one can serve as your hand washing sink. That's,
Is that the existing sink?
and where the other sink is shown, where JJ's
Yeah.
pointing right now,
Just-
I would make that a 4-compartment stainless steel
Yep,
commercial sink.
sounds great.
All right.
So will you have to have a mop sink for this room?
The janitor's room would have the mop sink,
Okay.
janitor's closet.
And this is also where the internet enters the building. Do we have a plan for it? Is it a small enough footprint where it won't affect what this looks like? Do I need to have it moved?
You could build a cabinet around it. Let's look at the south edge of the room. Right now, on this one, this drawing I have, it shows 2 cook stoves there, but that's been removed, right? Very good. That's where, there is is that a steel door that pulls down to make a serving pass-through to the dining room, which is directly south of that room? So that's a pull-down door that can be closed, but it can also be opened, and you can serve through that window. I think that's a good plus to have there. Everybody up to speed with us?
And so that door would just being for aesthetics,
The door?
the sliding
The
door,
walk-through?
the sliding door. for
No, it'd
the-
be so you could close the kitchen area and prep your food without people sticking their head in and yelling and.
Are the doors going to be actual doors, or will they be swinging doors like restaurant style coming in and out of the?
No, they're actual doors. That one is. 313A is the rolling counter door.
Okay. All right. The dining area,
How many, so are we going, so one thought is to have about 4 or so microwaves. Is there going to be space to put the microwaves up in a cabinet? Or, you know, as we're looking? So we're getting rid of the stoves, but we still need the places to heat things up.
Like counter space down here and counter space next to the existing sink, is that what you're wanting?
We definitely need counter space, we need counter space, and then the microwaves above that, you know, large.
you are gonna have that counter, the island in the middle, that's part of it.
Well, that's just for flat working on things, but you know, whenever
I
you're actually heating
understand.
stuff and lifting it up, bringing it out, looking at it.
What are the current dimensions of that island? Are they on there?
18 feet?
So it's, the countertop is not 18 foot long.
Give me a second.
It's 8 feet by 4 feet.
8 by 4. It's a door.
Sheet of plywood.
Yeah, sheet of plywood.
That'd be nice.
Okay, so, Terry, would you mind, well, he's circled, that's counter space is what you've circled, right?
So to make sure counter space is there, and then where the cookout used to be,
Yeah.
more counter space.
Okay. All right, are we,
And the only other question about that was is whether or not we could have just a heating oven that doesn't get above 160,
mean like
130. Actually, I guess it's
warming-
130, a warming
a
oven.
warming oven?
Do we,
That's just a 110 volt outlet, isn't it?
and so that,
We're gonna have much outlets
And plenty of outlets for crock pots and things like
and different circuits. So if you plug in 2 or 3 crock pots, you're not gonna be blowing a breaker.
yeah.
So the circuit will be adequate to take care of it. Okay,
that. I didn't bring the electrical plant, but I think there's
that's,
like 12 outlets and all that water.
okay, anything else on the food prep area? Let's move into the dining area. The only thing significant about the dining area, it is a tiled area. And we will have tables that we can move in from the storage room or put away if you want to use it for some other function. Does that make sense? What's the dimensions on the dining area? Have you got an idea of what?
9 feet by 35 feet.
Wow, that's large.
That's probably about the size of this room.
Large. dining.
Actually bigger. I
Yeah.
almost think.
Okay, but we're okay with the dining room area.
So-
There's nothing, no feature
Well,
there.
this is where the next questions kind of come up. One of my thoughts is to try to make the room as multifunctional as possible. Is as we're looking now probably over at the manager's desk, manager's office, and also the coffee bar, you know,
The storage area?
no, the coffee bar type thing.
Oh, okay.
Is this, if we took the coffee bar from there and put it over at the dining room side, can you move it back over to that wall? Then you would end up having to where this coffee bar is there, it's using 80 square feet, 100 square feet of room. And then it would be right next to the kitchen, to where you know, if you needed anything from kitchen-wise, like the water or anything else, you'd have that there.
There's actually a sink in the coffee bar,
Yep,
water and sink in the coffee bar, and then outlets for coffee machine. We're
Right.
not doing food prep there.
Right.
It is simply a place to sit and drink coffee. And the idea is to make it reminiscent of a 50s style diner. And the other portion of that is, the reason to place that in the center room, that coffee bar is gonna be the focal point for assembly for a lot of I start to say a lot of us old people. I'm not old. Some of the old people. And that's kind of a focus point of this whole place, to walk in, sit down, and have a cup of coffee with your buddies. We're designing this for people 55 and older-ish. and it's a place for the community to gather in an informal setting, have a cup of coffee, and relax. This is the focal point of that whole area. We're not trying to maximize space. We're trying to make a center where people can relax and sit down and grow the community, the sense of community. That's the focal point of this.
So, with now having a kitchen available, that's in this room, that's in the room, is we could have more, lots more different functions in this room. The thought is as you walk in and through the main doors, if you can go back to the right, JD, thank you. Yep, you know what I mean. If, as it's standing, is that with the big manager's office, it is now, you're gonna walk in, you're gonna see a big square wall with the
Glass.
or glass that's there with the coffee bar on that side. My thought is leave the room as big and open as you can. Move that coffee bar to the wall in this gigantic dining area we have, and leave that part open to where there's more options, for that room.
What's the,
And the overall part is since these plans were done in the 19 and you guys went there, is as COVID's occurred. And our restaurants haven't recovered. I go to some of the coffee shops and I don't see people at the coffee shops hanging out. There's things are dramatically different. And going back to the original plans, is this was not meant to be a senior citizens center.
It's always been a senior center.
We always talked about it that way, but it was never meant to be that part. And so since COVID went through, it's just difficult to get people to come together.
I will tell you that if you have it open to everybody all the time, and there's a bunch of kids coming up there and running around with their parents, the seniors will not show up. We've been
I don't
telling
think
the
we can
city.
discriminate against people wanting to come up there. I mean, you couldn't tell young people not to come up there.
You could if it says it's a senior center. There's no kids that go to the one in Midwest City. I eat lunch with a group of about 10 or 15 that go to the senior center in Midwest City all the time. They gave me a list, two pages long, of things that they do all the time. But if there's kids, they're not going to be coming.
Before we came up with this plan, this wasn't something that was just kind of pulled out of the air and drawn up. Mark Edwards, Brian Lindley, myself, you were there, weren't you, Terry? We all got into my van and we drove to Mustang, and we interviewed the senior center staff at Mustang. They have a new facility and it's gorgeous. And a lot of the ideas from this were pulled from that visit. From there we went to, I believe it was Jones, is that right? Now we're talking almost 5 years ago, when we started this 5 years ago. We went to Jones and we talked to the volunteers in their senior center about what the preferences are, what were the trends, what do they like to see, what do people want in their community center. My takeaway from that, and you correct me if you see it different, they want a place that they can have dominoes set up and play dominoes and uninterrupted card games and domino tables. That's their space that they can claim to gather and meet their friends. One of those is a coffee bar, a place to sit down and just have a cup of coffee with a buddy. That's one of the things. But the piano room, I never would have thought of a piano room, but it turns out there's more people that like to play the piano and sing the old tunes. Go ahead,
The
Terry.
other thing that kept coming up in all of that discussion back then was when we talked about the kitchen, when we talked about the dining area, when we talked about those other areas, we kept trying to make it a full-service kitchen where you could go in there and prepare anything you wanted to. And the city staff here kept reminding us, We got that at the other end of the building for just regular stuff to take place. This is for the seniors.
Right.
It needs to be what the seniors want. So that's kind of the thinking there. That's why we pared it back. We got rid of the cook units, got rid of all that stuff, just tried to make it a prep kitchen or a warming kitchen for food to be brought in, served to the seniors.
Like
and
Meals
catered
with
out.
on wheels and that type of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, so that was the thinking.
At Midwest City, they have lunch served every single day. They have dance classes. They have dances twice a week. I've got a whole bunch of stuff.
So
Card
one of the
games.
concerns was is who do we end up having to hire more people to do this, or you said volunteers, or what?
The other cities, and we're patterning off the other cities, they have someone that's in charge of it. There's someone that's in charge, and they don't have to be sitting right there in front of that all the time, but they have to come in and unlock the doors, turn the lights on. Our existing staff can do that. Is that right? They can unlock the doors?
They could unlock the doors, it's gonna depend on how many other events they have going on. If they have the other rooms filled, it may become an issue. They
Just
can get the doors unlocked, yeah.
turn on the lights and unlock
Yeah,
the
they can
doors.
get that done, but there's not gonna be anyone to
And they need to,
sit and make coffee or whatever.
and that person needs to be someone that really likes seniors, not somebody that's just filling a position of management.
Right.
But
We're-
then after
We're gonna
that,
have
they
to depend on volunteers.
But after that, they have volunteers that take care of things.
Yeah. Is this something that we want to do? Do we want to build a community center for the seniors? That's the way this has been presented to me from the get-go. It has always been a senior recreation area. Now, some people don't like the name senior. I get that. You want to call it a health fitness area, call it, we're talking about treadmills and stationary bicycles in there. We're not talking about a full-fledged gym. We're not going to have dumbbells and pull-up machines. That's not what we're doing.
They may have Tai Chi classes, and they may have exercise classes and chair aerobics, but it doesn't take a lot of equipment for that.
Some of the things that we saw in some of the other senior centers was they had a quilting room, and it had a frame that you could lower down from the ceiling. We didn't include something like that. There is a quilting area, but we didn't make a special room for it. We wanted it to be more open than that. There's a place for piano relaxation where it turns out there's a lot of people that play the piano and sing. Grief share classes, yeah.
So I thought for this facility, I would like to see it more multi-purposed so that not just the seniors could use it, but for everyone in Del City. I hate to label a building for just one person or one age demographic.
The initial plan was to take the building that the chamber is housed in now and make it a teen center. That was the initial idea, you recall. So we've
Have it
had to
other
move the
end.
chamber in there, and I hope that's still temporary where the chamber is right now. But anyway,
So for example, the piano room. So that's a room that we would cordon off and have a piano in a room.
with some chairs
Okay.
and, some relaxed atmosphere. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever heard me play the piano?
No, but I have many family members that play, and I'm just imagining the acoustics in a room with a piano and a couple of people would not be all that great. But so one room's a piano room, one room is a television room.
And in the TV room, we're thinking like what is that video game where they bowl and do all kinds of Wii. Thank you. I don't ever do that. We're thinking also in the TV room have a Wii in there so they can do the Wii things. Evidently, that's real popular with the seniors. This is coming out of Mustang. That's where we saw this.
Is that and that's a fireplace in the corner of that room also?
It's an electric fireplace. It does not burn an actual flame.
So some concerns concerns that I had when I first saw the plans was, so we've got, is the dance floor, is that going to be something similar to like the, I don't know if you would call it, consider that parquet and the other two large rooms that we're very protective of, but is the dance floor wood? What is that?
It's just probably tile.
Yeah,
And they use it for a dining room, then they pull the tables to the side.
and it can be
dances.
it can be a multi-use area, but basically a tiled area.
Okay. And then the exercise area, does that present any issues with needing extra insurance or liability if we're going to have?
We're talking about a treadmill and a couple of treadmills, maybe a couple of stationary bicycles, something very basic. And, you know, aerobics,
Yeah.
If we have exercise equipment, yes, that will either require additional insurance, additional staffing, or at least how we get around to the fitness court is we have a specific use at your own risk, but it's also open and visible. With this not being open and visible, it being inside of the building, we would either have to have
video surveillance.
or something of that nature to be able to monitor that activity, only under the assumption that if, depending on if we use the senior demographic, that could also open up the terminology vulnerable population. So we would have to be monitored and careful of that depending on how insurance and stuff works out.
Mike, you can probably answer this, but so from what I understood in a previous conversation I had with Brittany was that it's becoming more and more busy and booked and populated, and that people are using the community center much, much more as time goes by.
Yes.
Okay, so
What kind of
We-
revenue stream does that
I was going to
generate?
say, we make money off of that,
Yeah.
so.
I'd have to pull numbers.
So just to be
Uh,
fair in the budget side, the money side of it, yes. The reason why it is also so popular is because private places, private event centers are anywhere from triple, quadruple to 10 times higher than ours because ours is designed for the community to utilize. So the prices are very fair.
And what I mean by make money is we're making enough money to pay for staff, basically, at that point. We currently are able to pay for, okay. So if we were to allow for this to be a more multi-use room where we have the coffee bar off to the side, where we have the ability to potentially have business meetings, trainings, that sort of thing, stuff that we don't really currently have the ability to compete against, say, like the Reed Center for something like that. Is that something that would be of more use? I'm just imagining that we have this very large facility that we are building for the senior population, 55 plus. I don't think 55 is senior, but maybe 65 or 70. That is going to limit a very large potential for that room. That would be my biggest concern with this, is that we're heading down a path, and I don't know what this is going to cost, but it just seems like a fairly large expense that's going to cordon off a fairly large room that could have many other uses. That would be. So, you know, like the other parts of the center, we're limited in the events that we can have in the other centers because we're very careful with like the wood floors in there. So that limits if you want to have any sort of indoor activity. This right now, as it stands, you could fix the bathrooms, you could fix the kitchen, you could get rid of the flooring that is currently there. Potentially, I don't know that we could raise the ceiling, but just a new substrate on the floor, and you've got a very usable space with a floor that we don't really need to worry about like we do with the wood, given that we put the right flooring in. The coffee bar, when I think of the coffee bar, Destiny Christian Center, when we had the morning mingle there, that coffee bar is very useful, multi-use. The one they have in the corner there where they were serving coffee, but they also, if it's right out there by the kitchen, that could also be a serving area for food. So I would agree that a coffee bar makes sense there, a multi-use coffee bar. Are the stools that are in front of the coffee bar, are they stationary or are they movable?
They would be
They'd
stationary.
be like, just like in the 50s diners? Okay.
The idea is to evoke a 50s diner
Okay.
atmosphere.
Would that be sort of is that how the rest of the building would look, or just that specific? Are we talking like black and white and red, black and white tile? I'm imagining 50s
We
diners
haven't
and,
discussed time.
yeah, okay. So,
Yeah, ask Wendell what he'd like.
yeah, I have.
So, we're getting nowhere fast. It's almost 8 o'clock. I think the focus of this project is to provide us, and they hate the term, I know, senior center. Are we gonna rethink the senior center? Do we wanna abandon that direction? Because that's kind of what I'm hearing here. I don't wanna abandon it either. I think it'd be great for the community. What's the demographics of Dell City? What percentage of our population is retired Air Force or is retired military that lives here? We have a very large senior population.
Mayor, I
And
think
it's
we
getting
should,
bigger.
I think we should visit a few of the local ones, because there's some more local than Mustang. And
We
see
can do
what they
that.
offer
We can do that.
before we make a decision,
Um,
because this, one in Midwest City is very crowded all the time.
It would be easier, I think, for
Do you
Kyle.
want
it
to, you
would
want
be-
to put something in that just makes money?
No,
Is
what I'm
that
saying,
we're
what I'm
looking
saying
for?
is it'd be a lot easier if we had these seats filled and I had volunteers coming up here and saying, I'm gonna do the quilting class and I'm gonna put this on and I'm gonna do the dance class and all I need is a space. Right now, I don't see that, and that's what I'm worried about, is as we're talking about a 50s diner, is right now, that age is getting less and less, and now we're in the 60s. And so, I mean, things are moving, and whether or not we're going to end up having the right demographics. Now, on the other side, Jackie, is this question about parks. Do we have a bridge coming across from the towers over Ray, so that hopefully people can just walk over and come to this? I mean, that would make it nice. So we need to,
That's, yeah,
that
that's,
would be another thing, but again, I gotta figure out how these people are gonna come there, because as I look at my dad, still very concerned about different germs and different whatever else, is after COVID, is it going to be used in this sense? So,
And to be clear, it's not about making money. That's not what I'm implying. What I'm saying is we're limiting that space. The other areas pay for CJ and Cameron at this point. So, or most of, I would imagine. So what I'm getting at is if we have to have someone else that does work in this area, at that point, this area of the building is free to use, where others that aren't of the senior demographic are needing to pay to make use of that other portion of the facility. So that's just my thoughts.
I suggest that we visit some senior centers, because I don't want to argue this. I've seen them in action. I've asked how responsive they were to the community, and evidently you guys need to go and see that for yourself. So let's take it up on ourselves, each one of us, to go visit some senior activity centers and see if you think it's worth doing. I have visited them, and that's how this whole project got started. I think you're doing a disservice to the seniors in this community by not giving them a place to meet and a place that they can call their own, a safe place. Yeah.
Where do you
And so-
go ahead.
so the last thing is I think that, hopefully you and I can go and visit, Mayor, or
I'd
whichever.
love to. I'll go
because
with
because
anybody.
I think that the main question is in today, 4 years ago,
You-
it's a whole different world back then compared to now, just to make sure nothing's changed. 'Cause
Okay, and as you're visiting these different places, and I'll make a trip with you, and I'll make a trip with you, and I'll make a trip with you, and if you want to go, you can go with Mike. No, I'm kidding you.
Sounds
I'm
good.
kidding you. I'm kidding you. I'll go with you. But here's what I'm saying. I think you're gonna be surprised at how much these places are used, how functional they are, and what it does for the community to bring the sport sense of community together. And it's people out there getting to know people, reuniting old acquaintances. I mean, the stories that we've seen, and honestly, the only time I've ever been to these places is when we were actually doing surveying for this. And so perhaps we've reached the point where everybody needs to go and do their own field work. I'll be happy to go with anybody that wants to go with me. I'd be happy to. But I think probably we need to table the rest of this discussion for the old library. Do you want to move this to a special meeting that we could call at the end of February? Are you guys, is the end of February enough time?
I would say probably not. For me, I think probably the beginning of March, but also I don't necessarily know that we need a special meeting for it. It could be an agenda item on a regular meeting.
If we have a light case
Yeah,
load?
if that
If we
gives us
have-
more time.
I'm not interested in a midnight meeting.
Yeah, me either. This is getting late as it is, so.
All right, well, we'll play it by ear. Terry, I'm sorry. This guy's been patiently waiting for 4 or 5 years.
I'll be more than happy to join you on any trips.
I'll call you. I'll call you when we go.
So,
Let's-
the other question I have is this, Terry, can you talk to us about how this project would go? Is this, we did the work on our sewer, our wastewater plant, and you hire Garver, or you hire a big company to go do this. What do you envision as the people we're going to be hiring for this? Because each level of management for it ends up having, another supervision fee, another this part that's on top of the other ones, on top of the other ones. And so I'm wondering, are you thinking that we could go with smaller contractors such as Red Plains Plumbing, or, one of our local plumbing ones to do our plumbing ones separately, or?
No, it would be a general contractor that would be responsible. Right now, I have it set up where both projects bid at the same time, but they will have separate tracking mechanisms on the money so that you can see where your dollars are going here, where your dollars are going over there. The contractors would bid it with separate bids, but one contractor would be awarded both contracts. The reason for that is they're both relatively small in scope. They can then have one superintendent, one point of field operations, basically, for the whole thing, and that would save you guys some money. The size of contractors, it'd be open to bid publicly. I know of 4 or 5 contractors that are very strong in the markets of projects from $500,000 to $4 million. This definitely falls in that range. There are contractors that have been around for years and years. I've worked with most of them several times. They're good contractors. They do good work. It would be a place that I'm sure you guys could be proud of once it's completed.
So did I hear you right, that we'd have a general contractor, and then we'd have a sub-general contractor for the city hall, and a sub-general contractor
No.
for,
No, you have one general contractor,
and then
one point of contact.
and then he's doing all the buildings, all the stuff. So
Correct.
hopefully the same plumbing one, that he gets the best deal out for both
Correct.
of these.
Now, that's not to say he wouldn't have one plumber here and a different plumber there. That would be, that's up to him. But you would have one general contractor to answer for everything.
Okay.
One last question. So what is our budget for this renovation, for the whole renovation, to include City Hall as well as?
It's my understanding that the funds from the sale of the old chamber building are the funds that are available.
And what is the,
$500,000.
it's 500,000?
Mhm.
Okay.
And from there, it would just have to be, we would have to get with Melissa and see what she could squeeze, and there's no guarantee that there could be any more. But it's my understanding that it's 500,000 at this point,
Okay.
unless we have a big ice storm and have to use some. You know how that works.
Yeah.
Let's move on. I would entertain a motion to close the public discussion.
Make a motion, we close the public discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Gotcha. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. We are now adjourned to the Dale City Economic Development Authority. I pass the gavel. Thank you, Terry.
This is the Dell City Economic Development Authority. Melissa, will you call roll, please?
Trustee Gandy,
Here.
Trustee Mooney, Trustee Dean,
Here.
Trustee Eason,
Here.
and Chairwoman Finch.
Here. All right, item 3, consideration to allow long-term lease to make an offer on property owned by DCEDA or to negotiate a new lease or sell it. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve, deny, or approve with modifications the long-term leasee to make a reasonable market offer to purchase the property, approximately 55 acres located near Northeast 10th Street and Sunny Lane, or to explore new lease terms or put the property up for sale if no viable offer is received within 30 days. Direct staff accordingly. This tenant, Waco, has been leasing the property for the last 20 years and the lease has expired. This is to seek the DCEDA direction on this property. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to open the discussion on the long-term leasee or to make an offer or to sell it.
Second.
Any discussion? Take a vote. Trustee Eason,
Aye.
Trustee Gandy,
Aye.
Trustee Mooney,
Aye.
Trustee Dean.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Ask JD to make a presentation.
Could you make a presentation?
Just outline basically for the people at home and
Okay,
anybody.
so the long and short of it, the city owns the property, the EDA specifically owns the property on Northeast 10th Street and Sunny Lane. It's approximately 55 acres. And it has been leased since for the past 20 years to Watco, which is a transportation company that utilizes the rail system that's connected to that area. They have been leasing it at a very, I'll use the word generous lease price. And when it was brought to our attention that they were interested in renewing for another 20 years, we thought it was time to evaluate the situation. We've performed an appraisal on it, and we did kind of an evaluation of what we want to do. We have engaged a potential real estate agent that specializes in commercial and industrial area to give us an idea of the property. And our next step is to decide if we are interested in providing them with a price. They are interested in purchasing, if we are interested in selling. As of right now, with the market being good and then very good and then good and very good because of the fluctuation, now might be the appropriate time in which to do so. Staff recommendation is to offer the property to them at $2.5 million and to see their thought process on at this time. As a reminder, because it is the Economic Development Authority, the rules are a little bit different than usual. If it was city property, it would go through a much more extensive process that the city clerk and city attorney and I would have to work through, but this being economic development property, it's a little bit different. So this is just kind of, it's up to you if you're interested in selling. If you give us a price range, if you agree with staff recommendation of 2.5, then we send that to Watco and go from there. Every time I have a good idea, it makes music, right? And the
angel
light
got its
flickering
wings.
was for the previous part when we said we need city hall renovations. The light flickering was supposed to help with that, right? Ambiance.
Thank you, JD.
Questions?
All right, we've already done a vote, so I am looking for an adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Did we not discuss? We're in discussion right now.
We only you made a motion to only discuss. Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the long-term leasee to make a reasonable market offer to purchase the
Wait,
property.
Are we still in discussion mode? We need to come out of discussion mode to make another motion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we end the
So we're in discussion
discussion.
right now, and I'd like to discuss.
Second.
Okay, let's discuss.
Okay. it looks to me like, are we in the landlord business? Do we want to lease this property and continue leasing it? Personally, I think the market is hot. We can sell it for more value than we ever could in the past. And do we need to own this property? Is this a property that we need to own? I could see realizing the proceeds from the sale and retiring some debt. There's a lot of things we can do with that money.
Just some potential items on this one. With it being a leased property for 20 years, this has allowed the operator to operate with no property taxes paid, because the city doesn't pay taxes on any city-owned property. So by selling the property, it would release us of 55 acres, which would alleviate the insurance that we currently have to provide on it, which would not hurt me or Melissa's feelings one bit if we were to do it that way. Having money in the bank, once again, would not hurt Melissa's feelings, I'm sure, one bit. And then the 55 acres being what they are, we've done the phase 1 environmental survey on it. We've done all of our documentation on it. So there's no benefit to the city for us to keep it, at least as far as the city manager and I have tried to find. We could not find a more appropriate use than to allow this business to do this. But by selling it, it would put the business in their name. It would help solidify them to stay in Del City, and it would also alleviate the 55 acres from us, activate the property taxes, etc.
It's my understanding that although they currently lease this 55 acres for the last 20 years, they are also subletting part of that. So we actually have a chain of renters that flows downhill from us. And it seems that we've probably not been doing the best job of being stewards over this property that we could have been. I don't think the city of Del City is in the business of leasing property. And if we have a buyer, if we can sell this property and retire some debt from the city, I think we would be best served by retiring debt and not owning this property than continuing to rent it out for the next 20 years.
So we've been talking mostly about selling it. The other part about the same motion is to allow them to come up to a lease.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we get a significant enough money coming in each year, then that would eventually succeed the amount that we'd actually get paid, for this one. So either route would work.
Mm-hmm.
What we're just trying to do is get the authority to allow the realtor to do his job and see if that's going to happen. But either way, we need to either sell it or lease it, and we need to allow our realtor to do that.
I'm perfectly fine with that. If we lease it, we need to lease it for fair market value. We're not going to give it away like we have in the last 20 years. So, what do you think, Pam?
I think that we had already given the order on this motion, and that I don't know why it was put on this agenda. So I think that we should move on. I don't see where that the city needs to be a landlord. I don't see where the city needs to own property. That's not our job here.
This is an asset that would allow us to retire a substantial amount of debt, which in the long run save us interest payments. I do too.
Melissa and I do too.
Okay. I'm sorry, this is your deal. Is there any more discussion?
Is there any more discussion?
Make a motion to close the meeting, close the discussion.
Second.
We'll take another vote. Trustee Dean,
Aye.
Trustee Eason,
Aye.
Trustee Gandy, Trustee Mooney,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the long-term leasee to make a reasonable market offer to purchase the property, approximately 55 acres located at Northeast 10th Street in Sunny Lane, or to explore new lease terms to put the property up for sale if there's no viable offer received within 30 days, and direct staff accordingly.
I second that.
Very good.
All right, we'll take another vote. Trustee Dean,
Aye.
Trustee Gandy,
Aye.
Trustee Mooney,
Aye.
Trustee Eason,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Now I want to hear a motion for adjournment, please.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Another vote. Trustee Dean, Trustee Gandy,
Aye.